In order to have enough space to discuss controversial subjects, Jack Jones opened the Dill Pickle Club as a speakeasy, cabaret, and theater. This allowed free thinkers to come together in a safe space for all ideas to be heard and respected, which also played a part in the Chicago Renaissance. The year is 1910, the president is William Howard Taft, and cars had just come here to Chicago in the past 10 years. Kaminsky Park had just opened, which was home to the Chicago White Sox from 1910 to 1997, and during everyday life in Chicago, many people worked in meatpacking facilities and in manufacturing. A former union worker named John A. Jack Jones operated a weekly forum from a radical bookstore located at 817th North Clark Street. This weekly forum was what sparked the opening of the Dill Pickle Club, which gave a voice to not only the normal people, but also to the outcasts of the time, such as hobos and prostitutes. Jack believed that everyone had a voice and a right to be heard, so in 1917, when Jack and his following had outgrown the bookstore, they relocated to a rundown barn on Tooker Place. The entrance to the club was located in Tooker Alley. The door reads, "Step high, stoop low, leave your dignity outside." Following the move, fellow social activists Jim Larkin, a labor organizer, and Ben Reitman, the hobo king and prostitute doctor, helped with the club's coverage in the Chicago Daily News and aided to form the Dill Pickle Artisans. The same year, they were declared a nonprofit to aid in the promotion of arts, crafts, science, and literature. When asked about the Dill Pickle Artisans, here's what Jack had to say. The Dill Pickles was founded by several groups of people who were convinced that they, nor for that matter no other person or group, knew all there was to be known about art, literature, drama, music, science, social, or political economy, or any other problems confronting or bothering the human race. According to Jack, the backers of the club believed one thing: the thought that there should be some center where any idea or work would be given a respectful hearing and brought before the public, which in the last analysis are the best judges of what they want. The club served as a safe space to discuss controversial topics of the time, such as birth control, sexual reform, and politics, to name a few. They hosted many plays, operas, poetry readings, and even masquerade balls and dances. Masquerade balls were held often or when the club was in need of a little extra money, and served as the perfect time for gay men and women of the time to meet other gay men and women. Lots of people cross-dressed at the club, so not many noticed the same-sex couples. Lots of discussions on the topic of homosexuality were held, and one of the discussions held proclaimed activist Magnus Hirschfeld as Europe's greatest sex authority. Many local authors would often write and perform their own plays. During the start of the club, Jack started a press, the Dill Pickler newsletter, and also had a short-lived bulletin, The Creative World. It was rumored that Jack printed unauthorized editions of books on yellow stock, but the press also published many authorized books with authors like Arthur Desmond and J. Edgar Miller. Arthur Desmond was an author, poet, and politician, and is best known for the book Might is Right and Social Darwinism. He was from the UK but came to Chicago to live for many years before passing away in 1929. J. Edgar Miller was from Idaho and got a scholarship to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. He was a modern artist and was best known for his aid in Chicago's architecture. He operated a small gallery above the Dill Pickle Club once his current one closed. The Dill Pickle played a part in the second wave of Chicago writing, more commonly known as the Chicago Literary Renaissance. Chicago writing was a gathering of writers and a following that supported them along with what they produced from 1910 to the mid-1920s. Some examples of this renaissance include Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio, which is a short story on protagonist George Willard's life. Another example is Carl Sandburg's poem Chicago, written about Chicago. On January 16, 1920, the prohibition of selling liquor was passed. This did not stop the consumption of liquor, just the sales. Regardless of the law, bootleg liquor was produced and sold at many candy stores, drugstores, and speakeasies, the Dill Pickle being one of the many to distribute their very own bootleg liquor. The Dill Pickle was famous for and best remembered by its lectures and all-around hobohemia. The lectures were regularly scheduled on Wednesdays and Sundays, and many were declared legendary. The playbills, posters, and cards were roughly designed and made for quantity over quality. Many of them contained typos on purpose and are playful with Dadaist, meaning avant-garde, sex-themed titles regardless of the talk's theme. The Great Depression set in and the club declined in its fortune. In the early 1930s, Chicago mobsters had made the Pickle their hangout, and regular clubgoers complained that it had become too mainstream. Rent skyrocketed, taxes became too much, mobsters scared people away, and in 1933, the Dill Pickle was closed its doors forever. After the club's closing, Jack made quite a few attempts to reopen it, but had no such luck. He worked as a carpenter for a few years before dying of a heart attack in 1940. The club didn't end without leaving its mark on the world forever. The Dill Pickle provided a space for great authors to hang out. The extensive list of regular clubgoers included many famous people, such as Sherwood Anderson, Theodore Dreiser, Edgar Lee Masters, and Carl Sandburg. These men were also the ones who led the Chicago Literary Renaissance, which was a flourishing of literary activity from Chicago from 1912 to 1925.